got one more table, and that's the name of mango dish, vanilla and ramya. That's the gold one.
ब्लैंक मारलं खाली मारलं लाइट बंद कर दे लाइट
Wales International. Jury Awards and
this amazing event the second time. And over to you, Monisha.
Thank you. A very warm welcome to the Maharashtra Educators Summit 2019, hosted by Education Today Private Limited. You will be hearing all stalwarts in the field of education and also interacting and discussing with them in a while. The summit will be totally a new learning experience for each one of you. I request you all to keep your mobile phones on silent mode during the entire conference. This session will be providing a wide platform to all the speakers. We value such thoughts which are going to be shared today. Each speaker is an expert in the field, and each one of you want to take home something today. The conference will be a robust and a wholesome take on leadership in education sector, the challenges and problems by the educators in today's contemporary learning environment. And yes, now I take the privilege in welcoming Mr. Anil Sharma, the founder and managing director for Education Today Private Limited and Next Gen School Exhibition. He is also the chairman of Education News Network and is one of the leading education consultants in the country. I welcome you, sir.
Let's welcome him with a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
So now, let us commence today's conference with the auspicious tradition of lighting the lamp. May I now request Mr. Bipin Bhadran, Director of Education Design Architects, Mr. Manish Naidu, Founder of Brain Wonders, Mr. Anil Sharma, the Managing Director of Education Today Private Limited, Mr. S.E. Arora, Vice Chairman at LPS Global School, Ms. Tanuja Gomes, Co-founder and CEO of Furtado School of Music, Mr. Pratik Tandon, Business Unit Manager at St. Gobain Ecophone, Ms. Vibha Raj, CEO of Education Today Private Limited, and Mr. Srinivas Pai, IT Head, Emirates Airlines, to come forward and light the lamp as a positive sign and initiate in taking the program ahead. We also have Commander Kartikeya Saini joining in lighting the lamp together. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. I also welcome Dr. Swati Popat in joining together in lighting the lamp.
I request Mrs. Anita Malhotra to join us for the light lamp session.
We all good to go? Triptraj? Can you have Master Triptraj on the stage? Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Can we have the energy in-house, please? Yes. Thank you so much for lighting the lamp and symbolizing that just like the light removes the darkness, wisdom and knowledge can illuminate our nation. I also like to invite now Master Triptraj Pandya on stage. He is a young talent who has bagged the Rashtriya Bal Puraskar 2019. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
To know more about Tripraj Pandya, Master Tripraj Pandya, we have a video about him.
Tabla at an infant stage and gave his first public performance at the age of 2 years, 2 months and 11 days. This 13-year young talent is from the New Horizon Public School, Airoli, who holds name in Guinness World Record as youngest tabla player and a national awardee of Rashtriya Bal Puraskar 2019. Master Triptraj Pandya has been performing endlessly and mastering his skills. Triptraj has given more than 200 public performances and has been invited as guest of honor at major events. All leading local, national and international television channels, newspapers and radio stations have interviewed him and aired his story and performance of Triptraj Pandya. Triptraj has been invited twice as speaker and performer at TEDx Hinduja Mumbai and TEDx Bandra Mumbai to give talk on his love for music and passion for playing tabla. Dearly loved in the musician community, legends like Ustad Zakir Hussain, Pandit Hari Prasad and Ustad Iqbal Ahmed Khan have bestowed their blessings on him and have been helping Triptraj get better with his skills day by day. Master Triptraj Pandya also dreams of becoming a cricketer and a better tabla player when he grows up. He also loves to play football.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Master Tripraj Pandya. He's going to perform for us. I'm sure the beginning of this amazing event is going to be more amazing with his performance.
and Rashtriyapal Puraskar 2019. Thank you so much, Master Triptraj Pandya. It was truly a pleasant one. Thank you so much. And now, can we have Mr. Anil Sharma and Bibin Bhadran from Education Design Architects, Bibin Bhadran, to felicitate Master Triptraj Pandya.
And while we do that, let's do it with a big round of applause, because I don't remember what I was doing when I was 12. And the kind of command he has over his music and his talent is just amazing. And winning awards at such a young age comes as an inspiration for us as well to do something extraordinary in life. Ladies and gentlemen, this is none other than Master Triptraj Pandya on stage, who performed for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Triptraj Pandya. Also, I would like to announce that this conference is getting live and is live in the channel E-News, Education News Network, and the website is www.theenn.com. I request you all to log in and subscribe to the channel and ask and refer your colleagues and the dearies.
Also, if we are live, and I'm sure that there is this whole world waiting, for us to see them, and why not we just raise our hand once and say hi to everybody who's going to watch us live. Come on, everybody. I need some energy in the house. We are here today for a lot of learning, and it has to be exciting. Learning is always exciting, right? Thank you so much.
That's great. Moving on, I would like to call on stage the dynamic and a charming lady in education fraternity, Ms. Vibha Raj, the CEO of Education Today, to address the gathering with a welcome note. Welcome, ma'am.
So let's welcome Vibha Raj, the dynamic lady, with a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Vibha.
Good morning and a warm welcome to all the principals, directors, chairmen of the institution, and the delegates present here. We are delighted to have you with us here today at the Maharashtra Educator Summit 2019, hosted by Education Today. Many of us have traveled long distance just to be with ET, and we appreciate your presence. ET is committed to actively raising the standards of educational practices in our contemporary world, and all the conferences conducted so far are a witness to it. ET has a circulation of 62,000 copies and more than 1 million readership. ET has newly launched its vertical Education News Network, the only news channel dedicated to education, which has 20,000 views per day, and an all-India ranking of 60,000. On this note, I would like to mention here, the brain behind Education Today is the man who needs no introduction, Mr. Anil Sharma. Mr. Anil Sharma is the founder and managing director of Education Today. Can we have a round of applause for Mr. Anil Sharma? Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for welcoming all our guests with such a warm welcome note. And it's time for our first speaker to come on stage. I request now Dr. Swati Popat-Watts, the president of Podar Education Network and Early Childhood Association India, a renowned speaker and a compassionate educator who masters in parenting, to come up on stage and speak a few words on water for STEAM education. Welcome, ma'am. And the last time when I was hosting this event, it was absolute pleasure to hear her. And I really can't wait to go, for her to go on stage, come on stage, and again fill us up with some of exciting learnings and facts, and the way she speaks is just amazing. So let's welcome on stage with a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Swati Popat-Watts.
Thank you so much, and namaskar, and a very, very good morning to everybody here. I can say that true educators are sitting in the audience right now, because the others will come for the awards. So it's very, very nice to be at an Education Today conference. I have reduced my speaking assignments, but Anil is somebody I can never say no to. And kudos to you for keeping on bringing all educators together. In fact, I always say that it is these magazines that make us come together, meet each other, and network. So it's a wonderful opportunity for all of us. We're all in the same fraternity. Many of us don't know each other. So this is the best platform for us to know and celebrate each other's good work. My topic today, if I can have my presentation on, is water before steam. We all talk about STEM, then we talk about STEAM. Well, to create STEAM in real life, you do need water. So it is very important for schools to understand that if you are going into these kind of concepts, what is it that your teachers must ensure is part of your pedagogy in your curriculum for them to really implement STEAM education. This is something that I think is very relevant today. It was written by a principal who survived the Nazi camp, and this is so much relevant today. That what is it that we want education to do for our children? We have today people, young babies being raped. We have murders happening. We have lynching happening. Is education serving the purpose that it was meant for? Are we really creating children who are educated or just literate? Are we just having education for grades and percentages and being the best school? Or are we really creating good children? Children who grow up as good citizens. And this is my appeal to all schools. When you test yourself or your practices on any parameter, look at whether you are creating good citizens. It is sad that in 2019 also, we're talking about Swachh Bharat. That means Bharat is not Swachh still. And we have so many millions of children who go to schools, but who really don't know about health and hygiene. So it is something that we must all think about. When we talk about STEAM, what is STEAM? STEAM is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. You must all be aware that it was STEM first, and then people realized that we are only talking about science, technology, maths, and engineering, which is not fair, because what about the languages, what about the arts? So it became STEAM. I'm going to talk about water, because you can't have steam without water. You need to boil water for you to get steam. So what is water according to me? Water is this: why, what, when, and how, attention and amygdala, theories, emergency and safety, and readiness. I feel if every school invests in this first as the foundation, you will be able to create curriculums based on STEAM, on multiple intelligences, and what have you. It's very important for us to understand this. So what is W? W stands for why, what, when, and how. Because many of the teachers, even though they may have done their early childhood or their B.Ed, don't know their subjects. They don't know their children. They don't know at what age children can do what or which activity. Many teachers ask me, many principals ask me, at what age can we teach writing? And I am taken aback, because writing is not connected to an age. It is connected to a stage. There are pre-writing stages Once you have achieved those, your child can write. Then your child can be 2 years or 3 years or 4 years. It is the stage which is more important, which is what we are not teaching either our teachers or our parents. Why this focus on writing in our schools? Do you really think the children who are in your schools today are going to write in the future? Even now, most of us type more than write. I think the only time, very few times when we write is when we sign a check maybe. And I don't think we do that more often. We do internet banking. Or maybe when somebody asks for our autograph, that is the only time we may be writing. But it's very important to understand that the generation that we are teaching are not going to write that much, but they're going to read. You'll never stop reading. You will read WhatsApp messages. You will read Facebook. You will read Google. You will read the internet. You will need reading skills. And that is something that we need to focus on, that reading needs to come before writing. Why are we so obsessed with teaching children about writing when they are not ready for it? Even Mahatma Gandhi said that we first need to teach children about drawing. We need to help children draw. Let me do a small exercise with all of you. Do you all have a paper, a notebook, and a pen on your table? Quickly take that. And without wasting much time, because you're all adults, so you shouldn't take much time for this, please draw me your house. Can you quickly draw me your house? I'm going to give you only 30 seconds to draw me your house. Come on, let's just shed our inhibitions of being an educator, a principal, a director, and a chairman today. Just draw your house. And I'm sure you must have already drawn it, right? This is an exercise we give children so often. Draw this, draw your summer holidays, draw this, draw that. Did you draw your house? Yes? How many of you drew a house with a roof and 2 windows and a door? Right? So many of you. Yes, we drew a house with a roof, 2 windows and a door, and the sun is always in a corner. Yes or no? How many of you live in a house like that? Exactly. And we talk about creativity. We talk about instilling creativity in our children. You know who is to be blamed for that house of yours? It's your drawing teacher in grade 1. Go back and catch her or him, because we make drawing a graded subject. We correct children's drawings. Drawing is art. Drawing is creativity. You cannot give marks for drawing. But when you do that, you have confined this child's thinking, and then as this child grows older, you say, think out of the box. How can this child think out of the box when you did not even allow this child to draw the house? I did this very same exercise with a group where there were 4-year-olds, 14-year-olds, and 40-year-olds. Do you know what the 4-year-old drew? He drew the interior of a house. He drew rooms. But the 14-year-old and the 40-year-old drew a roof, 2 windows, and a door. This is what is happening. We need to open our eyes to this. And this is exactly what Mahatma Gandhi was talking about. Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy of the head, the heart, and the hand is something that we need to bring back into our classrooms. If you read the new education policy, it talks just about that. Let's look at this. We make children write, right? We love to make them write. But I want you to see the creativity of this child. If you will see this part of the page, the right-hand side of the page will be common for every child. So it's fine, write, because we are a country obsessed with writing. Write, but also give the left side of the page where each child's uniqueness and creativity will come. This was number 4. And look what this child has drawn. He's drawn the Mahatma and the 3 monkeys as 4. Because if you count, it does come to 4. Look at this creativity. It says circle half the cherries. Well, he has circled. It was your fault that your instruction wasn't clear. Let's look at this. We use water for drinking, bathing, washing our face, rehydrate, energy, grow a plant, science experiments, and waking up somebody. Now, you cannot put a cross on this answer because this child must have seen maybe the mother waking up the father by throwing water on him. These are the children who are sitting in our classrooms today. And we cannot treat them or correct them the way we were doing previously. Look at this one. Look at this one. It says the cat is hungry. Empathy. Help the cat reach the milk. So I have to help the cat reach the milk fast. Why should I go through your maze? So I went from outside. And I love this teacher because she's given a tick mark and she's given a star, even though the child has not done the maze. This is real learning. This is a teacher who has evolved with the times. Because the children in our classrooms have evolved. Let's look at this one. We all put these little hangings above babies, right? Have you ever thought of the baby's view? What baby is seeing are bums of all the animals. We've never thought about that. हम डालते हैं ऊपर से, दिखाते हैं, देखो, उसको क्या दिख रहा है? Baby is seeing the bottom of the animals. This is exactly it. And that is why this becomes very important. That if you keep throwing marshmallows at a child, you can't say, I'm feeding the child. And that's sometimes happening in our schools. We throw the curriculum at them and we say we are teaching them. But we are not looking at the perspective, at what's required, at what's not required, because our teachers lack that training because of faults in our B.Ed program. I have great hopes from the new national education policy that I hope it revamps our B.Ed programs, and I hope it really rejuvenates our early childhood programs. That was W. What, when, why. We come to A. A stands for attention and amygdala. What is the amygdala? The amygdala is a part of your brain which plays a major role in your emotional development. So when young children, very young children, their brains perceive danger or stress, it shuts down their brain. It completely shuts down their brain. So when you tell very young children in your preschools, write, नहीं तो घर पे नहीं जाने दूंगी, देखो आपने कितना खराब लिखा, राहुल ने कितना अच्छा लिखा, all this is causing stress, and they start relating stress with learning. So every time they see a book or a teacher or a blackboard or a classroom, their brain goes into shutdown. And that's why you have these children who throw tantrums, who are badly behaved, and you are wondering why this child is like this. But in the early times when the child was given learning, this is what happened. The amygdala was never activated. It was always shut down. So you will see that when children are upset, stressed, worried, scared, frightened, you will see them only displaying these four behaviors: fight, flight, flock, and freeze. Fight, they start throwing a tantrum. They fight. Flight, they want to go away from the situation. Teacher sussu lagi hai, teacher pet dukh raha hai. Flock, you will see that 5 children get together and do the same mischief. They flock together. And freeze is when the teacher says and asks questions one after the other, children's brains freeze. I'll tell you how a teacher talks to a child sometimes. बेटा आज नाश्ते में क्या लाए हो? नाश्ते में डब्बे में क्या लाए हो? कुछ लाए हो? नहीं लाए हो? मम्मी ने आज दिया नहीं है? अरे मम्मी ने दिया नहीं, मम्मी को बोलना देना. Now what's happening in the child's brain? The child's brain requires at least 4 seconds to process your first question. Your first question was, snacks लाए हो? You didn't pause. You went to the next question. So the child's brain is now trying to understand which question to answer. So the child becomes like this. And then you say, bolo, bolo, अरे बोलना आता है ना तुमको बोलो. But we are freezing the children because the amygdala has now taken over. And this is an example that I gave you of a young child. But it happens in older classrooms also, in the secondary, in the primary. They need half a second at least to process a question. And we don't give them that pause. We are constantly interrogating children. That's not good. And that's why then they switch off and they become stubborn. So it's very, very important for us to understand this. T stands for theories. We talk about multiple intelligences, STEM, STEAM. These all came from somebody's research, somebody's work. Why do we need a school that only teaches with multiple intelligences? Or why do we need a school that only has STEM? We all carry branded goods, right? We'll be having a Titan watch and some other brand's bag and some other brand's tie. So in the school also, why can't you have different brands of teaching? Why can't you have all of these? Because if you notice, each one of this is an expert in an area required for children. Let's look at Frobel's gifts. How many of you do coding or are thinking of doing coding in your schools? Well, if you are planning to do coding, Frobel's gifts, he called his toys gifts, are the best foundation for teaching coding skills to children. But in India, we don't know about that. We don't get toy vendors who make Frobel's gifts. We had to actually give samples, because when I went to Germany, I brought the real samples. We had to give a vendor the samples to ask him to make it now. It's very important for us to understand that Montessori is excellent, but her didactic material is very, very controlled, very structured. Whereas Frobel's gifts can be used uniquely by a 4-year-old, a 14-year-old, and even a 40-year-old. You have Montessori's, you have Lev Vygotsky. If you're talking about assessment, your teachers must know about scaffolding and ZPD. ZPD means the zone of proximal development. If you're talking about rhythm, reverence, and repetition, we talk about mindfulness, remember? Well, Steiner, the father of mindfulness. Erik Erikson, emotional development. We talk about life skills, but we don't know about Erik Erikson and his 7 stages of men. John Bowlby, you have children who cry when they come to a new school. That's the attachment theory. If you train teachers in understanding the attachment theory, your teachers will be better equipped to handle such children. You have Reggio Emilia, where you document children's drawings, where you document their work, where you have portfolios instead of report cards, where there is a continuous assessment. You have High Scope, where teachers plan, do, and review every day, where teachers teach children conflict resolution. They don't solve the problems amongst children. They ask the children how to solve the problem. You need all this. And if you will be very frank and very truthful to yourself, how many of these are actually being practiced in your school? Maybe 1, maybe 2. And then you have the master of it all, Gijubhai Badeka. This is a must-have book, not because I have written it, but if we are implementing the national education policy, we need to revive the work of Gijubhai Badeka. He was India's superlative educationist at the time of the freedom struggle. Mahatma Gandhi called him Muchhali Ma, because he was a man with a mustache and he had so much of love for the children. And he did the first experiment in India where he taught academic subjects only through stories and games. He taught geography, mathematics through stories and games, and his children gave the same exam as the other children. And they passed with flying colors. I think it's time to bring back Gijubhai before we book the flight to Finland. Because when you will read this book, you will realize that whatever this man stood for, Finland is doing it. Singapore is doing it. But India has forgotten. Please read this book. E is for emergency and safety. I was watching CNN IBN the other day, and they did the sting operation on a lot of schools to check their safety. And when it comes to safety, we think that by putting a CCTV camera, we are all very safe. Safety is not CCTV cameras. In fact, CCTV cameras, where the schools have them, and if they are not monitored, are the most unsafe schools. Because everybody thinks the CCTV is kar raha hai, aur humko kuch nahi karna hai. So it's very important for us to understand system. You need to have certain safety systems in your schools. Who and all, are they all aware of everything? Right from the watchman, to your receptionist, to your teacher, to your bathroom attendant. Are they all aware of the safety practices? One of the things covered in the sting operation of CNN IBN was, this reporter entered the school by telling the watchman कि awards देने आए हैं. And the watchman allowed the person inside. He then went into the reception and said, I've come to meet the principal, where's your washroom? And he was guided to the children's washroom. One calamity was not enough in our country that we are still doing this. So it's very important for us to understand this. What to do when, who to do, who has to do. If there's a fire, who is going to be the first person who's going to ring that bell? Where are the children going to assemble? How are the children going to assemble? How many times do you do a fire drill? How many times do you do a fire drill in your schools? Once in 6 months? It's supposed to be done every month. And every school now does fire drills. How many of you do a school bus drill? Very important. Because if the school bus catches fire or breaks down, what are you going to do? Do you have a policy for that? That's very important. Your safety systems. You know, we put big ads in newspapers to get admissions, and we do all kinds of nonsense to get admissions. Just put your safety systems on your website and see how parents build, your trust with parents is built. We have schools in the UAE, and there it is mandated that our policies have to be on the website. So every parent is aware that if I'm taking an admission in this school, I will get this. And this is a promise given by the school. Put it on your website. Put it in your school diaries. Make the parents sign your policies. So when there is, God forbid, an event in your school, a parent cannot say that there was something lacking. You can say that you have seen our policies. Now let's work out together if you think something is missing. Risk assessment. We nicely take children for field trips, even the small babies, even the older kids. Do you go and do a risk assessment of that place? Again, this is mandated in the UK, and that's why we follow it in all our schools. If a teacher is taking a child for a field trip, she goes first to the location, checks whether there are insects, whether there are any sharp edges, is the place having toilets? If there is a calamity, will I be able to have, what are the exits from that place? You all do annual programs, yes or no? What if there's a fire in the auditorium? Please do a risk assessment before you have your next annual program. Because these days, calamities don't bring a visiting card before coming. They come and they take lives. So it is very important that you do a risk assessment. For me, CCTV camera is like that mirchi limbu that you put on your car. It is useless. It is actually useless because none of us even know why the mirchi and nimbu was put. But many of us put it on our cars. Have you seen all the rickshaw fellows, taxi drivers? Now Bombay store sells a glass version of it. So we like it, so we put it in our house. I asked a lot of people, I said, what is it for? Oh, to ward off the bad eye. I said, no. In the olden days, travelers used to carry this because the mirchi was good for snake bites. The lemon was good for dehydration, and the little piece of coal is what was used to make a fire. उसको हम बोलते हैं कि बुरी नज़र ना लग जाए, उसके लिए लगाते हैं. तो CCTV भैया वही हो गया है, मिर्ची नींबू है. So it is very important to have these systems in your schools. Please check the iCards. In our schools, if there is an AC which is not functioning and a repairman has to come, he wears a card and he's supervised by somebody till he leaves the school premise. It is very important to have these systems. Readiness, R. Water, R. Readiness. What is readiness? Are children ready for learning? We need ready children. We need parents who are ready for your school. So readiness is the most important. And when you are checking your curriculum or your ideas, please look for these three. This is what I like about Maria Montessori. Though in our country, Maria Montessori means Montessori toys. Maria Montessori wrote 4 brilliant books. If you really want to understand her system, please read her book, The Sensitive Child. It's a brilliant book, and this is from there. And what she wrote about almost 200 years back, brain research has confirmed now. That for learning, we require the brain, the senses, and the muscles. So look at your class timetable. If your children are sitting all the time, the muscles are not involved. And when the muscles are not involved, the brain goes to sleep. So you must give brain breaks to your children. You must make them be active between 2 periods. Senses. If I am sitting in your classroom and you are just talking to me, I'm only using one sense, which is hearing. And some teachers are so boring, they are kind of like a statue in one place, so my eyes become, because you're not giving me any stimulation. So at least involve 3 senses when you are teaching. The brain, the senses, and the muscles. If you really want, this stands for academic success. If you want academic success, please stimulate the 5 senses. When you stimulate the 5 senses, the learning parts of the brain are stimulated, and then you get children who are academically successful. So it is very, very important for you to do that. We have an expert sitting here from Brain Wonders, and I'm sure he will agree with me. That's a beautiful assessment. You should get it done. He has done my assessment, and according to him, he says I'm brilliant. So should I trust you, sir? But he does brilliant assessments for teachers and children, and the brain is the epicenter of everything. It's not only the epicenter of learning. It is the epicenter of your social development, your emotional development, and your cognitive development. Focus on the brain. You must have all seen Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is the first need, food and water. Are we ensuring that children come to school with breakfast? Or are the parents skipping breakfast because school ki bus jaldi aati hai? So it is very important to start from that, because when a child does not get food and water, I have seen the toilets of some of the schools, they are so bad that children stop drinking water because they don't want to go to those dirty toilets. That is something that ails our country. I don't know why we as a population don't know how to use public toilets. And I think that is something that we should now teach everybody, how to use a public toilet. Safety is the second need. So if you see right at the top is your achiever. You cannot get achievers if they are not taken care of in these steps. Safety is your second step. Third step is love and belonging. If you're going to compare children, if you're constantly going to make children feel insulted, love and belonging goes out of the window. Many a times I tell teachers, don't say my class, say our class. That's a sense of belonging. Our school, our nation. That's a sense of belonging. In Independence Day, a lot of schools say, ये इंडिया का फ्लैग है. तो इंडिया कहाँ है? आप इंडिया में हो ना, तो बोलो ना ये हमारा फ्लैग है, इंडिया का फ्लैग. We are Indians. Bring that sense of belonging in these children, because when you give children roots, then they will get wings. That is the very important thing that schools need to do. I'm going to leave you with a video to help you understand that whatever I have spoken about leads to steam. Water before steam. So this video is about pre-coding activities. That by using foundational activities, even in the early years, how you can teach coding to young children. It's a pleasure to spend this morning with all of you all, and I must thank the organizers for having me here, and I hope that we can work together, collaborate to ensure that every school in this country, whether private or government, at least improves 5 things every year. Because as children teach us, baby steps leads us to success. So thank you very much. Please have a look at the video.
Before I say anything, I would request Dr. Swati Popatwats to please come back on stage and join us. And ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause to her because as she said that, it is a pleasure for her to be, sharing all the things here on stage. I think it is our honor to hear you as the very first speaker in the morning, and the kind of facts, the kind of things that you come up with such simplicity, like Maslow's theory of motivation, which we have learned till our class 12th in commerce. I think it's wonderful, ma'am. Thank you so much for giving us your time. And can I request Mr. Manish Naidu from Brain Wonders and Anil Sharma to come on stage and felicitate ma'am with this beautiful bouquet. As beautiful as your work, ma'am. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Sir, please go ahead and felicitate ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
And I had the opportunity to meet Swati ma'am in her office. It took no CCTV cameras, but 5 huge doors. I said it is like entering into a diamond merchant's office, and the sort of security she has in her place is amazing. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, I now request you all to join your hands together for the revolutionary leader, a former commander of Indian Navy, Dr. Commander Kartikeya Seni, who has over 3 decades of distinguished experience in the civil and defense forces with over 19 decorations and currently the chairman at Scottish High International School. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, sir.
Can you have my presentation on board? It's about coffee. There you are. I need a remote, please. All right. Winston Churchill, when he was knighted as the first Lord of Admiralty, you know what he said? He said, many people dream of accomplishments. Some who are leaders stay awake and accomplish. What Swati spoke to us in the last half an hour is everything which is so true, and we all identify ourselves with that. At the end of it all is the learner, is the teacher, is the personality which we are building. And we need to do that in things which are more than simple. And we need tools, certainly like she said, to do that. But then, you need to stay awake. You need to know your priorities and you need to accomplish. So why this coffee date today? Between modern education and leadership. Modern education today is all about the future classrooms, technology, training aids. You touch a button here and something happens. There are CCTV cameras which don't have a human to monitor. There are training aids which show something on the screen but nobody to explain what. There are assessment systems which assess children, all but 3-year-olds. Not that there aren't assessment systems to assess children. Of course they need to be assessed at every stage, but not, like she said, for a drawing or math at that age. So I'm going to take you through, I have very little time, and I'll always make sure that he gives me little time, so I'll stick to that. I'm going to take you through a quick video, which is what a future classroom or a modern classroom in today's education systems. Many of us are from so-called international curriculum schools. Many of us have branches in India, abroad, many states. So a typical future modern classroom, what does it look like? I need sound, please. So that's a modern classroom, and that's the way our children would be sitting to learn. We have so many of our partners and sponsors here who've got us technologies. You'll see a whole lot of stalls outside. But did you notice that each of these scenes here, whether they were robos or whether they were three-dimensional pictures in the middle of the classroom, there was always a teacher. There was always a person who was teaching, and that shall always remain forever. And each one of us who have brought us technologies into this room today, helping us to reach out to our children with more skills, would agree that at the end of it all, you do need, each one of you, be it a director, owner, principal, dean, HOD, a teacher, a lab assistant or a lab attendant, every single person to be there despite what is around us. I have chaired the Special Olympics of this country for 4 long years. I have been on the board of Special Olympics International, 177 countries, 5.2 million athletes across the world, all with intellectual disabilities, out of which 1.2 million are in India. 200,000 integrated schools with children wanting to learn. I have met a whole lot of leaders, and when I say leaders, are not just the presidents of their respective countries, but leaders in the classroom, leaders in the playfield, leaders in a lab, leaders like all of us. And somehow I have realized that to connect what we were just seeing, what Swati also said very rightly, to connect simple things and get our children to be real learners, I derived that you got to be leaders in whatever positions you are. Who has not seen so many videos of leaders across the world over the decades? A recap.
I have a dream that one day,
as long as we have faith in our cause and an unconquerable willpower,
knowing that here on earth, God's work must truly be our own.
This is a time of challenge to our interests and our values. And it's a time to test our wisdom and our skills.
This will not be a campaign of half measures, and we will accept no outcome but victory.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept.
read my lips.
Let us be united for peace. Let us also be united against defeat.
There is no way we can go forward except together.
Assured of the rightness of our cause and confident of the victories to come.
There's new ground to be broken and new action to be taken.
It does require, however, our best effort and our willingness to believe in ourselves and to believe in our capacity to perform great deeds.
Lift up your heart. All will come right. Out of the depths of sorrow and of sacrifice will be born again the glory of mankind.
I do not shrink from this responsibility. I welcome it.
If we succeed, it will not be because of what we have, but it will be because of what we are.
So it's never about what we have, but what we are. Now this connect between leadership qualities and modern education is very intense. You can't learn leadership in a day. I mean, you have a master's course in leadership, for heaven's sake. Chapters written in your management programs, right, on leadership. So I'm going to connect 3 or 4 key leadership issues of a leader with modern education, and let us all know that if we nurture 2 or 3 or 4 of them, how we can finally do what we all are intended to do. Now, leadership traits are many. We all know that. Many of us have learned it. Most of us practice it. I'm going to pick up, let's say, 1. Set your priorities straight. We give advertisements. We are a IB school. We are a Cambridge school. We have this curriculum. We have this ranking. This is our topper student. When did we ever give out an ad saying, listen world, our special needs student made his first elocution speech today. Our first wheelchair student participated in a race today. When did we last tell ourselves that it is not about achievements which makes a great school or a great teacher or a great learner? It is about what that school is. I'll tell you a little story. There was a school in Geneva which I visited. Fantastic school. It was a school of hospitality, you would have heard it, college rather, La Roche. On the main entrance of that school was names, Ritz, Hilton, 5, 6 of them. I did ask the president that is this college kind of associated, is kind of linked, you have a MOU with these hotels, the best ones in the world? That's a 100-year-old college, by the way. The answer was, no. These are the 5 hotels where 100% of our students for the last 100 years have been employed after graduation. Everybody said, wow. We all like to hear these vows. When our students pass out from my school, they go to Georgia Tech, they go to London Business School, they go to LSE. Fantastic. But more important than that is how. And I noticed in that same college one very beautiful thing, and that was the process of procurement. Nothing linked to education. Process of procurement. So it had a proposal book like we all have, and in the end, somebody writes somewhere, an authorized signatory, the competent authority to sign that yes, you can buy it. And then there is a column which says, how will this help my student? So you need a chair which is broken, you need a laptop, or you need a new software or a pen or whatever, or a clock to be changed. You got to write, how is this going to help my student? If we start asking that question in our schools today, in anything what we do, in any decision we make, be it at the level of heads of the department meeting or a management committee meeting, you will get your answers right there. How is it going to help my student? Have your priorities straight.
All right. Everyone just take out the latest version of your spreadsheet and we'll get started.
Is this the sales spreadsheet or the finance spreadsheet?
There is no sales spreadsheet. That's definitely the finance, so.
You sure?
Yeah, it's version 22.5.
Well, this is why you should have a sticky note system to keep track of your versioning. According to my system, 22.5 is not the most recent version. 22.5_1 is.
22.5_2 went out last night, and then Bob made some edits that he sent out with the invite. So you should be looking actually for 22.5_2.
Okay.
_1, Bob, exclamation point, $Bob.
Okay, well, the $Bob is actually not the most recent version. Just so we're clear.
How would you even know?
It's on my orange sticky note. Orange equals outdated. Orange,
okay, well,
outdated.
That looks peach to me, so
well,
I find that confusing.
Look a little higher then, because there's a peach sticky note right above it. P, priority.
Sorry I'm late. I was just in a meeting that was about this meeting, and it went a little long.
Thanks for being here. Just go ahead and take out the latest spreadsheet, all right?
But Gary is joining this meeting, right? Because he has the latest and greatest version.
I think Gary's on his honeymoon.
Look, why don't we, at this point, just all make sure we have spreadsheets out? Don't care what it is. Pull up a spreadsheet.
I got a few.
I'll send out the master file later.
Okay, yeah, I can set up another meeting request if you want. Is 8 hours enough time, do you think? Looks like we have availability again in 10 weeks.
Oh, jeez.
10 weeks, what's the date on that?
Just check your stickies. 10 weeks from now?
10 weeks from now. I have a vasectomy that day.
You didn't write that on the calendar.
So there has to be a better way. This is not the way we really set our priorities. And most of the times when we get into meetings, when we get into decision making, when we discuss, we really forget the core matter. Next one. Important versus urgent. Every single day of the year, when we reach our schools, we tell ourselves on the way, today is the busiest day of my life. If somebody were to ask you, how busy are you? You would say, always. How much time do you have for yourself? Never. What are you busy with? Oh, with so many things. Not just my teacher's reports and report cards and my parent-teacher meetings. It's not about examination and the tests. It is not about interviews. At a senior level, it is not about the board meetings. I have something today morning, I have something today afternoon, I got to finish a deadline by tomorrow, I got to give a report by day after, I got to make a list of this. So you are always busy telling yourself on important things. A good leader knows the difference, that they are not important, they are only urgent. When you say that you are busy on something on which there is a deadline for today, tomorrow, or next week, you are working on something urgent. It may be important, but as of now, it is just urgent. So what is important? I'll give you an example. You read in the papers, all educators, this came last year, all educators who have views on how the education system should be. There's a new education policy which is going to be rolled out in October 2019. Log on here and give your views. Was it important for you? No. There's a little note which comes that the dean or the principal or the director or the owner or whosoever, the management, wants ideas for training aids which we need to induct next year. It's not important for you. Just keep it aside. It's not, because it's not urgent. You'll think about it. You will think about it. And then the note comes, you know what, there was something to be suggested by today, 6 months later, by today. Oh, it was today? So you start scribbling down, what do you think is important as a training aid for next year? It becomes urgent. So the difference between an important matter and an urgent matter is to be known by all of us as leaders. We cannot ever say, this is important, but because it doesn't have a deadline, it can be left in my in-tray for the next 6 months. Failure. Many of us may have read this or quoted this. This was Edison, and his assistant told him. They had 10,000, Google and you'll know, 10,000 combinations for the filament, for the right lamp. They couldn't. And the assistant said, we have failed. And that's what he said, that we have found out there are 10,000 ways it does not work. This is exactly what we need to tell our learners and our teachers who tell us that. We all are here as leaders, and we need to understand that while we set our priorities straight, we know what is the difference between urgent, that is something which has to be done today, and important, which has a much wider impact, and that everything does not always succeed. We are on the right path. Next, it's about one life influencing another. You just can't have a physics teacher of a school only teaching physics if he's a good soccer player. Why would an educator following a particular curricula or a particular pedagogy learned over a workshop 3 days back in another conference not want to implement that because either there's no time, either probably it will fail, or it won't be appreciated? Because the only way to influence would be that. That is how you will make a change between one and the other. Till today, Australia's ranking system of schools is based on percentages. Google, you'll know. This to this percentage is graded as A schools, B schools. It's like that. Fortunately, many countries across the world, including a few schools in our own country, have stopped believing in that, have started believing in percentiles, have started believing in personalities, have started believing in a growth of a child which is not just in the books called holistic and, personality building, but it's actually that. So you need to have one life influencing another. At the end of something, you need to have humanity, compassion. You need to have children who are not just with knowledge. Children who can orate, go walk through an interview, ask questions, help a needy man on the road, be compassionate to a child or a colleague who is in need, play a sport, an individual, and a team game, be a leader, be able to take decisions, hold hands, be a team, be disciplined, punctual. Now all this doesn't come in a day. All this does not come with 1, 2, 3, or 4 benchmarks which you have set for your children, and we all know that. So, the role of leaders is not to get other people follow, but to empower them to lead. Empower them. You know what? I'm going to show you the last video of today from my side. And that's a little race. It's a race of small children. It's a race of children with intellectual disabilities, some with autism, dyslexia, and so on. If I had a school, and I would want to state what the school children of my school would I dream to be, it would be a race like this.
When I am down and oh my soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Be a leader in your space and lead. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. That was indeed a wonderful coffee date with modern education and leadership. Thank you so much for gracing the stage. We are grateful for your presence here today. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for the pride. Can I now request Bipin Bhadran from Education Design Architects and Anil Sharma to felicitate Dr. Commander Kartikeya Saini. Can we have you on stage, please, sir? A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. The energy in-house has to be going on till the evening. Thank you so much, sir. And now we have the panel one discussion yet to start, and over to Monica to introduce the panelists to you.
Thank you so much, Monisha. We are about to start now the first panel discussion of the day, which is chaired by Ms. Seema Saini. Let us begin the first panel, and the topic is the next revolution in education and the responsibility of an educator to understand the relevance and importance of introducing it in the classroom. Kindly note the panel discussion floor would be open for question and answer session later. Allow me to introduce the panelists to you. And while I invite them on stage, I really want you all to applause for them and welcome them with big round of claps. All right, so let's start with Dr. Seema Saini, who's moderating the panel. She's the CEO at NL Dalmia Education Society, Mumbai. She has been one of the members in panel of inspectors for affiliating schools to the Council for the Indian School Certificate Examination for ICSC and ISC. Also certified in strategic leadership from Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. Welcome, ma'am. Let's give a big round of applause for Dr. Seema Saini. We have Ms. Vandana Arora. She's one of the effective and holistic educator and principal at Nahar International School, Mumbai. Welcome, ma'am. Also, we have Dr. Rajesh Hasija. He's a National Awardee 2003 bestowed by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam and also has received the Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan Award. He's a recipient of numerous other awards as well. So we would like to welcome you as well on the stage, sir, Dr. Rajesh Hasija. We also have Dr. Chandrakanta Pathak, from CRSCH, an outstanding leader and mentor, an awardee of the most promising principal female. She is Dr. Chandrakanta Pathak, the principal and CEO at HVB Global Academy. Welcome, ma'am. And joining us along with the other panelists, we have Dr. Vidya Shravanti from Regal Ford International School. Ma'am, can we have you on stage as well? So these are the first, these are the panelists, our esteemed panelists for the first panel discussion for today. As I mentioned before, the topic for this panel is the next revolution in education and the responsibility of an educator to understand the relevance and importance of introducing it in the classroom.
Thank you. A wonderful topic, I would say, and a wonderful setting before the topic could begin. The times that have changed, and how you just saw a video of how education in classroom, how the classroom could just get enhanced completely, and how learning can happen. Wonderful thing said by Dr. Swati Vats as well. She said that learning cannot happen just by throwing marshmallows. One needs to get immersed in the learning. One needs to get engaged with the learning that is happening. We've seen how things have changed. Even today, rather, we need to open up our minds to adapt to these changes that are happening. We hear of Industry 4.0. We look at how healthcare is changing, how transformation has happened because of artificial intelligence or big data or machine learning. What is education doing? How can we make our education or learning in classrooms relevant so that these children can actually be skilled for the times that are to come? It was nice to note that AR and VR presentation that was given by Dr. Karthikeya Seni sort of gave an insight into what this AR and VR is all about. This is the next revolution. You put 3 generations in one room, and if they say we've studied in the same way, which unfortunately was, I could say till 5 or 6 years back, things are changing now. Minds have opened up. Schools are more progressive. They're adapting to the change. But the next big tool that one can think of in education is the AR and VR, the augmented reality, the virtual reality. In fact, there is talk of even mixed reality coming in. How can we blend all of this together? We have esteemed panelists here. I would like to just introduce their introduction is done. I would like them to take up the questions that I put on. How do you think can AR and VR be applied in our schools and in our classrooms? Of course, there would be a difference in AR and VR. AR is when you are enhancing the things around you. You are in your reality. You bring and add on something more to it. You're augmenting your learning by having additions in your own space, in your own structure. So that is how it gets enhanced and learning could be effective. VR would be when we immerse ourselves in another space, in another location, through virtual reality, that is VR, through basically putting ourselves, experiencing that zone. So how do you think can these actually be effective in a classroom? Dr. Vidya, if I could ask you this question.
Hello. Good afternoon once again, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we know today that we have moved a long way. Well, when we started off, I think many schools a few years ago were only worried about audio-visual classrooms. But today we see that we are far, far ahead already. And we know that children are glued to playing games on the cell phones, on the computers, and it always keeps them busy. Many of us, I'm sure, would also love to be playing games of such kind, just for entertainment, but children are glued to it. I happened the opportunity of being at NASA, and I've seen that you can almost feel like you are in space. There is a certain game that you could play there. There is even another one in Universal Studios, Avatar. You go into the Avatar world and you feel like you're flying there, and you're one of the Avatar members there. So that being the kind, in today's classroom environment, what are we looking for? When it comes to the augmented reality classrooms, the student needs to be interactive, to be using technology in the classroom. It's not just the smart boards, but then beyond the smart boards. Many classroom environment in different areas of our country still have the challenges of making this itself a possibility because of the advancement, the growth in such kind of, the improvement in this kind of technology, which is very fast-pacing. But I would say that in many classrooms, there is several other, because students want to have, and we too want them to have experiential learning. So that being the case, the mixed reality, the computer-mediated reality that we can bring into the classroom, and how can this happen is one of the questions. But then I would say that today, we already have quite some progress in our country. Coming to the virtual reality, I think I must confess that not any classroom today has yet stepped onto that. Operationally, it's not yet a possibility, though we know in other countries, like in the US, almost 59% of the classrooms use even the virtual reality, even in China and France. So like we've seen the video that was presented by the just concluded presenter, Dr. Saab. So we know that this kind of classroom environment is going to happen, if not immediate, in the next 3 years. And students are almost, they're going to be natural takers, I would say, because they have an aptitude for such kind of learning which can become much more real to them, because they can live in that experience, because they're all the time confronted with the life that they live and the artificial world which can become real to them. We also know that artificial intelligence is fast catching up. So the classroom environment, speaking of, how can that happen in the classroom, is a possibility that would happen much more real to the students, much more enjoyable, which must be happening because we are progressing towards that. I don't want to take more time because there are the others, but definitely I do have a lot of points which I could state when the questions are up, because the two sensories, that is the visual and the audio, are the most impactful in when it comes to learning methodologies. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vidya. I would say slight inroads have begun. In fact, we do see, not in education as much directly, it's beginning to happen. There are people who have brought in this technology to India. But in our, the smart city concept I've heard, they've started implementing VR technologies to understand how improvements and urban development can happen. And it's already begun in Jaipur. This was the information that I got recently. And it was very impressive that the government has also opened their mind up to implement these kind of things. How does it become relevant in our schools? We need to ensure that for it to become relevant in the world around us, we have to begin bringing the students across to delve with it. Dr. Pathak, if I can ask you, do you think it is universally applicable, or it's possible across the subjects and across the classes in a school? What kind of challenges do you think would come across, or can it be put across the subjects?
Good morning, everyone. I believe if we educators who are sitting here and we decide we need to implement it, there is nothing impossible. There will be certain challenges. So I'm not saying that it will be a very easy task for us, but it is not impossible. If I see the different challenges, it will be different for implementing AR and VR, and the new technology now which is taking over even MR. So your augmented reality, your virtual reality, and then your mixed reality. The first and foremost challenge we all will face will be in the terms of hardware. ML and AI, you will need machine learning, you will need artificial intelligence, and AR is basically, you need that physical environment because you have to take up the learning to the next level. Say, for example, I'm having this AC carton over here, and I want, doctor has already shown one video over here where the people were doing the surgery on the machine. But you need that object, and you have to then put the algorithm, the software, you have to do the programming of that machine. So you need the infrastructure, you need sophisticated machines. The other challenge will be probably the cost factor, because these machines are quite expensive. If I give you one example of HoloLens, which is going to be the necessary part of it, it costs around 2.5 lakh. So the cost will be difficult situation for us to how we process it. And the limitation in AR is that one machine, if you put the programming for a particular subject or related to that, you can't often use it for various things, which is there in case of VR we can use. The thing is that there will be a particular memory of that machine, and you can't use that, then it's just like a mobile phone. Then the data, you cannot go on, and then it will affect the maybe speed. So you will need a robust speed, internet, and all that. The other thing, you will need incredibly intelligent programmer, or the person who will write the content for us. Because having the content will be the another difficult situation. Content which is age appropriate, content which is subject appropriate content, and even once you write it, the way the technology is changing, the content will be very soon outdated. So you have to again further modify it. So the content, and then you will need the skilled people, so you have to train the trainers who will be using this technology. These are certain limitations, but I don't think so that we cannot work in that direction. The people have started working on it because AR is still in the phase of developing. If I come to the VR, virtual reality is something so easy. I believe Ms. Vidya was saying that we have not taken it, but you will be pleased to know, ma'am, there is one school by the name some Srimati Sainik School in Mehsana district, Gujarat. They have started using virtual reality in their classroom only for one subject now, and that is for science, because we people still feel these are all science fictions. But by the company name, they are calling it Photon, LLP, F-O-T-O-N, not PH. So that is another challenge, that we have to bring awareness that it is not only science, it can be used for each and every subject. With visual reality, I can take my children, if I'm teaching geography, to the jungle, the forest of Amazon. Why not?
Absolutely. So this is what I wanted to understand. In the initial stages, though it's been around for 5 to 6 years, not as much in India and in our education system, but to have those softwares available, to have those gears available, there are vendors with those gears, and there are people who are offering these gears to children. Of course, to make learning immersive, to help engage children with what they have to learn, to enhance their learning experience, because it is only experience that stays on with the child. Just thrashing and throwing things at the children or marshmallows at the children doesn't ensure that learning is happening. To make it immersive, this is where we need to take our step. So across subjects we may not have, but I think definitely, Dr. Hasija, if you could tell us, where do you think could the applications of AR and VR come into our classrooms in the school?
Thank you very much for giving this opportunity. Being in technology field in the last 38 years is very close to me. See, technology, first of all, just give me a minute to brief that. Technology itself is otherwise very, very important. Computer being the most modern tool which merges sound, text and picture, so-called multimedia. Therefore, it is the best ever tool available to facilitate learning. Somebody in the previous said that 20 years ahead the school would be like this. I said 20 years ahead there will not be any formal school. It will be Vidya School of Mathematics or Padma School of Science, because technology enables teacher to that extent. Talking about augmented reality, virtual reality, or artificial intelligence, these are the new revolutions in the use of technology. The moderator initially said very clearly that when you use the existing environment of a concept and build animation, that becomes augmented reality. And when you create an environment, and then along that creation, you use animation, that become virtual reality. For virtual reality, you need the headset. Though it gives a 360-degree view, it helps you to explore much better. But cost involvement and other things are there. Augmented reality is just much easier to say. I brought with me this magic box. If I tell you this has information more than 100 encyclopedias, I don't know, I can connect with any one of these. If you can see, I can have entire solar system picking up any of the code, entire solar system. You click anywhere, you want any information, everything is available on this magic box contains more than 100 encyclopedias. What I'm trying to say with you, that augmented reality and virtual reality, they are the tools to give children an experiential learning. Moderator said that experiential learning, and I said this is the only form of learning which is required in today's scenario. Please remember, the structured learning always takes to examination because it is directed. Whereas unstructured learning, which we normally call it experiential learning, inspires children to learn. Whether it is mathematics, whether it is science, or any subject. Leave apart the subjective knowledge. You want to talk about 21st century skills. Curiosity, creativity, innovation, communication. All things are possible when you put children to a real situation. And AR and VR plays a great role into that. Rather, things have moved a step ahead. That is called artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is nothing but simulation of human behavior, human emotions. When you simulate them through a machine, that becomes an artificial intelligence. There's nothing like called artificial in this intelligence. Machine picks up the responses available through different moves. For example, you play chess game. You play with the computer. Computer has picked up through the different moves. Maybe initially people defined 5,000 moves. The computer started working different algorithm through 5,000 moves and made 2.5 lakh moves further. That becomes an artificial intelligence. IIT Kharagpur, probably 3 days back, has announced that one of the researchers said that after n moves, n algorithms, it is clear that machines start making its own intelligence. This is about 3 days back, IIT Kharagpur news. That machines start making its intelligence into this. Therefore, my request is hundreds of applications, app are available. Hundred of different tools are available with you. As a teacher, please integrate this. Yes, it is a tough task for the teacher. Somebody said in previous presentation, we should teach technology to the children. I little differ with it. Children pick up technology on their own. You need to teach the trainer how to use this technology and AI using into. Can I take a little more minute, ma'am? We introduced probably in 1995 computer-aided learning. I still remember we asked a mathematics teacher that you give us that's called a storyboard of integration, an area under integration. I, using the Visual Basic Programming, transformed that into a computer-aided learning package. And I requested teacher now to use that one. After using that package, the teacher who was teaching mathematics for 10 years to class 12 said, sir, today I regret because I wasted 10 years of teaching. I never taught the concept actually so correctly, so inspiringly as I used this computer-aided learning package. There are umpteen research in the NCERT under the classroom project. You can go and see, which says when you integrate technology, and I say technology is not only computer. Using a simple piece of paper is also technology. But computer, yes, it merges text, sound, and picture. Therefore, it's called multimedia. It enables you to use the tool in much better way. It catches the attraction of every student. It engages the children very well. It starts communication. It helps children to learn at their own pace. It helps children to learn at their own ability. Therefore, different children of different background. That means if the classroom is an inclusive, this technology plays an amazing role. And if you merge with augmented reality, which means you create animation like I was showing a magic box, you have a headset and have a visual reality, and you club this with artificial intelligence. I tell you, the learning would happen. It's in most pinnacle. Children will be the best expert in every subject, in every skill, in every concept.
Very true, Dr. Haseja. Absolutely. Technology has to be used as a tool. And very beautifully you expressed it through that app on your mobile phone. Imagine a teacher doing that in the classroom on the board. So if she's teaching mathematics and she has to explain a sphere or say cuboid, and then teach a theorem according to that, and she puts that app there. It just takes the whole form, and explanation and understanding of such abstract topics could become wonderful. So, Ms. Vandana, if I could ask you if you can share some thoughts on AR and VR and its application in schools and in the classroom.
Good morning, everyone. Before looking at the application and understanding the virtual and the augmented realities which are coming, we need to remember that we are all educators, and the larger responsibility which is falling on our shoulder is that once all these tools are available, because they are going to be available, once all these tools are there in the classroom, because they are going to be in the classrooms, with the infrastructure coming in, and once we train the teachers, are we also remembering that what is it that after collecting all the information and learning everything through these means, our children are going to do with that information? Are we teaching that to them? Are we remembering always, keeping in mind that end of the day, and beautifully Dr. Seni said that, we have to teach our children that they are going to be in the world where they have to make a difference. And how are they going to make that difference? if they are not going to be connected to human. So we have to make sure that while we are bringing all these instruments in the classroom, while we are bringing all the technology in the classroom, while we are teaching our teachers how to use that and connect the technology, we should not forget that human connection stays alive, that the purpose of learning stays alive, that the emotional understanding of human beings and the connect with human beings stays alive. So for me, what's important today for all of us as educators is to remember that this is the era, this is the age where emotional intelligence will play the most important role, not the artificial intelligence, because it will come, it will take over, but the people who will sustain and work beautifully in that would be the people who have the highest level of emotional intelligence.
So the human angle cannot be undermined ever, how much ever technology comes in, until the value system, until the caring attitude, or the empathy and compassion that we need to put in children, until we work on that, no amount of technology can get the world or lead the world in the way we want to. Definitely we cannot undermine that. And as educators, it is our responsibility to ensure that we're able to blend that aspect, the humane aspect, with the learning process that will be more adaptive to children. They adapt so well to the video games that they play. I mean, they're right up there if you talk of the video games, and that is so immersive in nature. Why can't we bring the same thing in the classroom so that learning becomes effective? And without undermining any importance, or as educators, the relevance that we think on that needs to be given to blend the two together. Dr. Vidya, if you have some thoughts on that and you would like to just put in some comments, and how do you think can we blend these?
Yeah, definitely. I think in more and more schools these days, we've begun to integrate values with every class that's happening in the, timetable. We've been training teachers to see that values are a part of every topic that they take up. So that's one way of, having a student think about whether this particular topic that I'm learning today is going to impact me as a human. How am I going to influence my teammates? How am I going to be a part of coordinating within a group learning system? We know that classrooms are not those kind of classrooms which are large and huge like earlier days, but we want to have smaller classrooms wherein students are made into smaller groups so that they can have more experiential learning. So that would enable children to be a part of, experiencing as well as sharing and so on. At the same time, the class and the school must also make it a point to see that there are laid down rules, certain rules, which every student would follow so that, they begin to understand one another, the learning becomes more impactful, the learning becomes more relational, and at the same time also taking them to another level. There could be slow learners, there could be those who need a certain help, so even that is added on. I would definitely say that, children are taken up by all gadgets, if you may call them so, and they would like to be indulging in it totally. We know that it's so very difficult even for a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old to take their eyes away from any gadget that you hand them, and they are almost like natural. We take a little time, but they are natural with anything that is provided to them. But then, how do we limit or how do we direct a classroom wherein both are balanced? If we are depending totally on just the virtual reality coming into classroom, then it becomes a problem. There should be a blend of the two, because ultimately this is the learning experience, but the student needs to do an examination in order to move on to the next level. The examination, of course, could be experiential examination as well as a written paper, but then the student needs to have both. So therefore, the teacher plays the major role. Of course, we shouldn't be waiting for a hologram teacher, I would say. Yeah. We know that even that could be a possibility. But if that happens, then we need to see how, the values are integrated into the learning process. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vidya. Of course, I would say hologram teacher would be the future that would come in, or maybe student exchange and international exchange could be better with these kind of tools that we take in. Probably that is the future. But Dr. Pathak, I would like to ask you, you mentioned about the challenges of AR and VR and the schools that would face it. What do you think could be some solution if we're at the same time talking of the future? So what do you think is the solution that presently, when this new technology is being adopted in the classrooms, how do you think we can overcome them?
Dr. Seti, you started giving the example, the video games. If you permit me, I would like to give you some data of a research. It is known as Goldman Sachs Global Investment Research. It says that by 2022, the market of AR and VR will be $18.9 billion. Video game, $11.6 billion. Then it goes to healthcare, 5.1, engineering, 4.7, video entertainment, 4.1, live event, 3.2, then real estate, you were giving example, we are using it, 2.6, retail, 1.6, military, 1.4, and last is education, only 0.7. So that's the challenge. Video game is here and education is here. Now how we can change that and how we can influence, I believe the time has come. For a long way people have been taking the inventions done by the other countries. The time has come that we have to think the solution within ourselves. My open invitation to all of us will be on this spot. We all are here who are some ambitious leader from schools. Can we all have a common platform? We create a central library. All apps which are delivered are on a cloud-based thing, and we start using it. It will cut down to the cost level. And I request education today to take a lead into this. Why not? And if we will share our resources, I believe we can do wonders rather than taking individual thing. So the time has come that we must begin to try to lead than to be led.
So this is a nice closing statement, I would say, to this whole conversation. And a nice solution that is coming forward if we are trying to adapt new technologies in our classroom. If AR and VR have to be brought into our classroom to help children have more engaging learning, to help them experience learning in a way which will stay with them lifelong, it is important that we come together and find solutions for that. And a wonderful solution put together if we could bring in our softwares together, if we could bring in our learning solutions together and use it for all of our children, it would be a great thing to happen. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Can I conclude? Allow me to say just 2 minutes, ma'am. Number one of the panelists said that emotional quotient, emotional intelligence is more important than artificial intelligence. I'm with you. I never said that you use only AI. I said they are only the tools. What beautiful way the previous video showed. All were winners, even one child fell down, all together walked. Can you express the exactly same without that video with the same kind of inspiration? No. The video made the perception totally different. Therefore, technology as a tool is a must. And coming to that, every technology has its challenges also, has its negativity also. You have to look in a different way. One, ma'am said gaming. Fully agree, gaming is the best, easiest way. But let me tell you today, gaming is being used to inculcate 21st century skills. Gaming is, that's called gamification. The term has come up, which is being used. So whatever is available, let's use that one. However, emotional intelligence will remain on the top, and I conclude with a small story. There was a demon called Sambasura. It was in the sea, and you know that Asura and Sura, they all had fight, Devta and Asur. So Sambasura was a Asur. He was having fight continuously with the Devta. So he created at that point of time 3 robots. I am talking Indian Hindu mythology. 3 robots called Dama, who could kill everybody. Second, Vyala, who was angry, victorious every time. And third, Kata. All Devtas were losing their battle in every field. They went to Brahma. What do? He has created a demon, the robo. Robo means
So what we are trying to do is we are trying to create those learning zones. You know, what we had been talking earlier of watering hole, campfire, cave spaces, and even the 20 different learning modalities, because every child is unique, the way they learn is unique. And this is what, in our designs, what we do is try to create those spaces for the 20 learning modalities to be practiced. So for your reference, there are sheets on your table. We'll also get it up on the screen in a couple of minutes.
Exact same spaces on screen to follow, just to give you an example of how we have done it in the past.
So here's a video. Can we have the video being played? Can we play the video, please? You just need to play it. Yeah.
Radial, reverse thinkers, people may not understand you at that particular time, but be confident, move ahead with your own thing. The movers or the shakers of the industry are generally a radial fingerprints. They are radical. They're different. Somebody wants to just take a photo? Yeah. The radials want to do it. Yeah. Just take it. I'll wrap it up. We don't have time to speak about this, but yes. Shaping the leaders of tomorrow. We want us to be represented better by the next generation. And trust me, DMIT gives you that solution. If I can